We are live. I'm just gonna adjust, make sure we add some locations here. Okay. And we are live. We're here with Laura, and Laura has a problem. Can you please explain to the people your small problem?
So I bought this adapter on the London Heathrow airport, and now this
It's not working.
don't fit. So I'm so sorry, guys. It had like 2 holes in it. I thought this is great, but it's not working. So this is my first time traveling to US. So next time I get the right one. So if I'm gone,
We're just gonna we'll fill in for
yeah,
you, okay?
yes. Okay.
You'll be gone. We have someone here. Hi, Laura Subramandi. Hello.
Dave, thanks for coming.
So we have Laura here, and she's discussing her film Sweet Disaster. If you've watched any of our festival trailers, you've been following us on Instagram, you know we're absolutely crazy about this film. And if you know me personally over the last 3 or 4 years, you can tell I'm so excited to talk to a filmmaker that I have so many wonderful, lovely, loving emotions towards. I've never spoken to you. We've never spoken before other than emails, but it's like through your work, sometimes you just know somebody, you're like, wow, this person, I really want to meet this person who made this lovely film. Speaking of film, let's talk about your film. There's so many questions to ask, and we've got so many emails. And one of the questions that keeps coming up is, are these ladies real? So first, let's introduce this film. It's Sweet Disaster. If you're watching this later, you've already seen the film. And it's this lovely film about an expat from, who's in a new country, who meets a pilot who ghosts her when she announces that she's pregnant, and it's a late stage pregnancy, and she's 40 plus. So it's about analyzing this through a hilarious, tragic, hilarious balance lens. First of all, maybe to not jump around here, how do you make a film so complete? How do you make a character so lovable in your writing?
Thanks. It was a process. And Ruth Thoma, my screenwriter, she, I felt like we kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper, because I think in the beginning, she was just, maybe the people couldn't relate with her. It was more like this crazy lady waltzing over boundaries. Like, what is she doing? So I think layer after layer, we had to kind of try to get deeper, try to get the balance right. So in the beginning, it was just a lot of work, and I'm so happy I could work with Ruth Thoma, who is such an experienced screenwriter. And but it did take a few years to get there. And
Absolutely.
of course, the performance of Friederike Kempter, who played Frida, she's like the one who breathes the life in her, what me and Ruth have had in our heads. And then she arrives, and this character becomes live and real. So it was my debut feature film, so it was an amazing experience.
What a remarkable debut. We watched tons of debut features, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, one of my favorites all-time debut features. It's so assured. We looked up Sweet Disaster, expecting that this was like your third feature, and you're just some director we've never heard of. Like, wow, first feature. Incredible. So your character goes through quite a journey in this film, and maybe some of the things she does in this film are not always right, ethically right. But I realize this comment is perfect. I love Frida. I want her to be my friend.
Yes.
It's exactly how I felt. How can you ever root against this character? I think at some point she could have like run over someone with a car, and I would have been like, oh, it's forgivable. I still love her. It's okay. So how apart from obviously incredible performance from your lead actor, which I'm sure is also tribute to the director? Yeah, who's allowing. How does that work? How consciously are you aware of these sort of navigation pitfalls of keeping the audience with Frida?
Yeah, I think for that we needed the kind of the phases where we could kind of be near her, and we really tried to tell the story through her, that we are kind of close to her and have this empathy for her, that and her characteristics. I mean, it was really fun on the set with Friederike Kempter and with Ruth in writing. Like, she would just like, you know, go for it and then think later. So that's kind of a great aspect of a character for a comedy, and still be like, I mean, lovable. Of course, huge thing is that her sidekick is a teenager, so it was kind of like, you know, in her denial there is this regression, and then she becomes like a teenager maybe as well. Still, she is an adult, but yeah, I think this body comedy element worked really great, you know, for her.
I think in a lot of ways the goal of adulthood is to become a child, and the goal of childhood is to become an adult. There's always sort of, but speaking of this sort of juxtaposition that we have in films, we were just talking about this in our New Voices panel, that the most interesting films are not only juxtapositions, cinematography and directing, writing and acting, this sort of interplay between the two departments, but also there are sort of juxtapositions in terms of genre. So you talk about this being a comedy, right? It is a comedy, yes. It is a comedy in the way that Jaws is a boat film, you know, like it's a comedy. But there's some very absurdist comedy. There's some very real comedy. There's some serious drama. There's a moment in this film which I will not ruin for anybody who has not watched it, but if you have watched it, I'm sure you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Where I honestly, my heart dropped. Heart dropped, and I was not expecting that to happen in a film that was so funny. And it's just like when she says what she says, I'm like, oh no, poor Frida. So you're not, it's not just comedy, and I don't think anything is just one thing. So how do you dance between these 2, 3, 4, 5 genres?
Well, first of all, I think that is kind of often my style. You know, I cannot, whatever work of art it has been in the past, it's like never just one thing. It's always like, you know, if I do animation film, it has to be like 5 different animation styles and things like that. And the second thing is, I think it kind of came out of the story of being alone and pregnant. So that was something I felt like there is like my responsibility to show that, because I think that is can be a painful process in its, you know, rewarding aspect, and yet she's a 40-year-old woman. I think we can all believe that she will become an amazing mom, and she can carry this on her own. So I think that was one thing, like from the pure essence of it. But that was also like a process in the making, like one layer after another. We kind of have to search for it, like, and I think very important was after editing the film music, like that was where I thought we had to put the focus on her, you know, process of grief, or what is going on there underneath. So that was and we needed that depth in the music and sound design and sound mix. It all kind of became this, you know, huge focus to pull on her.
It's an incredibly fun film. It's super fun, but it's a range of emotions. You know, people are messaging saying, I want something fun. I'm like, great, watch this. But there will be parts that are not so fun too. That's life though, right? And I was wondering, there's this tendency of this character to be very, very preoccupied with everyone else's problems. Do you think, and this is more of a philosophical life question, but I think it pertains very well to your film. Do you think we sometimes seek to solve other people's problems when our own problems seem unsolvable?
Yes, for sure. That's kind of, that's kind of her thing. like everybody around her is already like, come on, just, you know, like the mom from this kid, like, I can do it. And, you know, just, you know, the teenager girl, the Yolanda, is also like, hey, come on, you have to focus. And but it's kind of both, because I think in the end it is who she is, and she will never change. She will always, you know, get everybody with her and, you know, try to help. But in this kind of situation, it would be good she would look more to herself, but she's in denial. And that was kind of the dramatic arc, maybe, like she being in denial and going like really far in it, you know, till she can no more.
I think we think of life in terms of lines when maybe we should look at life in terms of circles. You see, because we're all in process, right? As Peter Brunner, who's Pendant's Best Director 2019, he said 5 times in his Q&As he was in Canada for the festival, and every Q&A, every red carpet interview, he's asked about this character of Norman. Just like if you were here, I'm sure every Q&A, every reporter would ask you, what about this Frida? And he always said this thing about Norman that always stuck with me, is Norman is in a process. Norman is in a process because process is circular, you know? Yeah, it's a very fascinating film for a million reasons. But one of the things that caught me, you know, is that I have some experience in cinematography, directing. We've run Pendants for so long. I'm very keenly aware of juxtaposition. And your cinematography is perfect. Like, no frame out of place. I look for it. I didn't find it. No frame out of place. No shot out of focus. Everything is perfect. You know, even some people were messaging. They're like, "How did an independent film get this balloon shot for the opening title? How creative and how beautiful is that?" Is it interesting, perhaps to you, and conscious decision to make the juxtaposition of such a messy life and such a clean image? Is that maybe, is this conscious?
I think that kind of came with a cooperation with my camera woman, Anna Bollig, who is super talented German camera woman. And we kind of had this symbiosis in storyboarding and preparing and finding the aesthetics. I mean, you know, our gaffer and set designer and costume designer, everything was part of it. But I think this clear aesthetics, it also, I think it we really wanted to show things clearly, but not in a way of editing so much. We just wanted to sometimes, you know, leave it like alone there and not. And I think that needs some kind of space and clearness. And the concept has to do with her identity being from Finland, and, you know, her homeland. Connecting with that is the design and architecture. We had like the curtains and many garments, and these colors come from the 70s, which are like super clear color blocking. And so it also came from like Frida's world in a way. If I answer,
it's like a fantasy. Yeah, like she's living in delusions and fantasies and images. So one of the questions that we got a lot were about these ladies, you know, these ladies that are floating in clouds and coming and helping her. Are they real? Because, you know, some people were genuinely confused. They were asking us, "Hey, am I stupid or did I not get this?"
Yes, they are real. And it was interesting because that was the question my creatives asked me the most, like in costume design, like how, you know, I didn't want them to be too unrealistic, you know, like everybody wearing the same colors or being like angels or anything, but they represent something, you know, and I wanted to have space for that. But at the and they truly are real because they kind of, get up and help just everybody. I love grandmas. I think they are such a backbone for so many families and children. And I was just thinking in Europe, maybe it is often more the grandmas because the grandpas have had this, traumatized past. Maybe that something I noticed in US, like in the cinema, there were so many grandpas. I kind of felt bad because I was just praising all the grandmas, and I thought that maybe also something cultural we having the world.
I think most people from Europe would tell you that they spent a lot more time with their grandparents than people in North America would have, and maybe that's a very good thing, and maybe that's something that sort of divides us, culturally, because you're learning from people who've just had a very different set of experiences, and so you grow up and you're watching things that they find interesting, which might be 40, 50 years before you were even born. That's very interesting to me. One of the main things there. I wanted to talk really about the music. The soundtrack is remarkable. It sets such a it's like an audio visual medium, a film without music. What did Milos Forman say? He said composers are God's special people. I believe. I hope I'm not butchering God, but like how it's so important. We are as pen dance people. Sometimes people think pen dance is like rain dance, snow dance, sun dance, slam dance. Must have been pen dance, but actually our concept of pen dance was because Angelica, our co-founder, is a musician and composer, classical pianist, and I, being the other co-founder, am a writer. So pen dance is like music is a really big part of pen dance, and to see a film that's like Sweet Disaster, the music, and then Grand Bolero tonight, the music. Oh wow, we're so happy to have such musically awesome films at pen dance. So how consciously are you thinking about the score when you're thinking about the storyboards? Or is this something you find later?
In my case, I really did find it later. It was really my film musician is how did you say, people of God, or what you said, because that really was the experience when he came with his talent and the sensibility for this character. It really blew me off because musicians have, they need to have this super tender heart, which is, I think, nowadays super hard to protect because everything is such a heart and comes in huge waves. So for her inner life, the combination of like this still beautiful camera for an anabolic tender light and the music was like essential. That just told that where I didn't need any text to tell about that, if you can experience it with that. And I what was clear was that I wanted electronic music. We used a lot of also synthesizer because I come from that background, and I wanted to kind of the reduction to become emotional, like not a symphony orchestra and violence and all these things, because my film goes in every direction visually. So I needed something to combine, and I mean, I have some songs here now, tango and Finnish rap and all these things, but from Pesso, he's amazing Finnish rapper, but like to have something combined and yet to be reduced to become, this is what I love in electronic music, that it can sometimes, through the reduction, become such an emotional thing, and I love it. And I think my Boris Goltz, my film musician, really hit the mark.
Absolutely, it's such a strange thing, when we think about this actor is good. Well, the actor is in the hands of the composer and the cinematographer and the editor and the colorist and the director, right? And so sometimes you see this great actor deliver this very, very poor performance, and the audience will only think of the actor bad acting. So they don't see everything else that's helping. So I think that's so interesting. How much do you think trust between yourself and your lead actor helped to bring out this performance?
Yeah, it was very important in a way that I think we had 2 years before we
Wow.
started shooting. But I think the main important thing was that I kind of knew, she totally knew what I wanted. So because of that, because that was so clear before shooting, she kind of went her way and I my way, because she had to work. I mean, she carried the whole film on her shoulders. So she was really focused and concentrated. And we had some discussions, but I think mainly the work was like before that we really, you know, I could trust her completely, knowing that she knows what is it about. Maybe that,
Yeah.
like that.
No, absolutely. You know, there has to be a sort of understanding joint between director and an actor, but I say there's also has to be trust, because there can be understanding, but then you can lose the trust and then the
Yes.
performance goes
Yes.
away. So I guess
That's
like
scary.
yeah, so I guess your relationship sorry, there's a question here that I'm not going to put on screen. And I'm not going to bring it up, don't worry. Yeah, so I've lost my train of thought. Great, you asked me questions now. um, yeah, so it's just, I guess what I'm saying is that that trust can be so easily lost, and so it's like nurturing that relationship between yourself and the actor. So is there something that you consciously have to be mindful of, like on set, is like being patient, or having a great deal of empathy? Because the last Q&A we were talking about actors becoming directors and directors needing to maybe go to some acting classes to understand. So how is, like, where do you get your sense for commanding performances? Because it's not just your lead performer. All the performances here were incredible.
Yes,
So
I have.
where have you honed your talents in directing actors? Like, what is your process?
So first of all, I had an amazing casting agent, Susanne Ritter, who is very experienced. She knows many people. And for me, it was clear, because that's my debut film, that I need experienced actors who help me to carry it. So I'm the rookie, in this film. It may change my next film, but I really needed the experience that to lay on, and so that was the main thing: the talent and the experience. And because I don't have so much, it's not like I formed then and then they learned so much from me. I don't think so. But because I have been working as an artist and designer for the 20 years, for me, it was, I know creativity needs a lot of freedom. So, and so this is what I try to, give them, but to be there and observe. And I think I'm quite, I'm quite a still director, that I kind of, still, yes. How's a still? I'm not
Observant,
loud.
like you. Okay.
Not loud.
Yeah, quiet.
Quiet. Yes, I think I'm quite quiet in my way of directing. That I'm there, but I have to say I learned a lot, and I've been since then working with young actors, trying to improve my skills. What I learned from there. For me, it will be a long going process, but I really fell in love with this. I love to work with actors, and I didn't know it before. So I have a lot to learn. So I'm just starting.
This is so humble. No, it's funny, because when I started directing films, they told me that I was going to hate working with actors within a year, because they're this and they're that, and I said I'm committed to loving it, and I will. And you can always tell when you're working, or we say sometimes, if you'll know in a film, as programmers, we'll watch a film, you'll say the DP and the director, they were not having a good day there. That actor and that actor, maybe they don't get along so well. You can sense it in the thing. Sometimes you watch a film and you're like, I know the casting crew on this film was really loved and taken care of, and I think I felt that on Sweet Disaster. I know you're probably looking at your bar and you're about it's about to die. Yeah, I see you. So I'll ask you one question as a sort of parting note for, there's a lot of female filmmakers at this film festival who are looking to make their first feature, making incredible shorts. What's one advice you give to yourself 3 years ago? If you could go back and have a conversation with Laura circa 2018, 2019, what would you say?
I would try to speak out loudly what I feel. I think for me it was like what I know and feel, what I know what is right. I think I was, that would help. I noticed that in many females that kind of, the process is very slow. Many are used to give a lot of space for others, like me, and it's okay, it's good, because then, you can have a great working relationships, but sometimes you just know maybe this process could come like faster, and say it boldly and go to people. And
It's not to pander, but I can't tell you how often we've had an interview with a female filmmaker, either in the shorts or features, where it's so obvious that they're so clearly talented that they should have probably had this opportunity 10 years ago with how brilliant they are, but it's taken a little bit longer to just speak sometimes. And I think if what I'm hearing, what you're saying to female filmmakers out there is, don't wait. Speak now. Move now. You are capable, more capable, and it's like when you start to believe that you have a voice, you develop a voice, and people hear it. So thank you so much for this film. Thank you for being part of Pendance. Where can people find this film? I know that it's being released in Germany in the fall, but you're going to all the festivals in the world right now. Tell us where it's going next.
We have 17 festivals in the US only. So oh my God, Cleveland, Maryland, Athens, in US. This weekend is in Beirut. It goes around the world. We have a small world distribution, and like with you guys, we're trying to, have it released in autumn everywhere. But if you can check the film festivals, independent film festivals in US, I'm sure you will find us. We've been so blessed with you guys. So thank you so much.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you. Every festival programmer dreams that they will open their submissions box and find such a beautiful film, such a beautiful comedy by such a beautiful person. So thank you so much. It's honestly sincere. I would not say it if it wasn't true. Thank you so much. And we hope you'll visit us. We hope you'll visit us in person next year.
I wish that. I would have come this year for sure.
Yeah, I know, it's so sad, but it's okay. It's beautiful because we get to speak to you anyway. So it's a sweet disaster,
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. Total sweet disaster. Okay, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Bye.
Okay.
Find a charger soon. Bye.
Yes. Bye.